Let's talk about the one thing that ruins more relationships than bad communication: money, finances. Yep, that green paper can turn love into a civil war real quick. I mean, who hasn't felt that awkward tension when your card declines and suddenly you're both pretending like it's a glitch? Or when date night feels less like romance and more like a budgeting meeting. But here's the real. Money fights aren't just about the numbers. They're about trust, control, and even your own self-worth. And if you don't get ahead of it, it can tear down even the strongest of relationships. And the data supports this. The number one cause of divorce: finances. So today I'm gonna break it all down for you guys. How money can make or break relationships. And I'm gonna give you some practical strategies to keep both your finances and your love life intact. Because let's be real, love may not cost a damn thing, but the breakups, they're expensive. All right, now picture this. You're sitting at the dinner table, plates barely touched. She's scrolling through her Instagram or just social media app of choice, pretending not to care, while he's staring at the bills on his phone, wondering if he's failing, not just as a provider, but as a man in the relationship. See, at first, it was all good. They were laughing, making plans, and dreaming about vacations. But after, when the relationship starts to age, the cracks start showing. Payments get missed, late fees begin to show up, and subtly, the little things, they start feeling like the big things. Organic versus frozen meals, brunches versus savings. Y'all get the picture. She's talking about how they need to live a little, go out, enjoy themselves, have an abundance mindset, while he's staring at the numbers like, how are we going to afford any of this? Credit card balances creep up. He avoids checking the statements, while she's hoping that he won't notice that one extra Amazon order. And before you know it, they're sleeping back to back, silent, stubborn, and scared to admit what's really wrong. And at this point, it's really not about the numbers anymore. It's about respect, trust, and feeling like you're on the same team. But right now, they're not teammates, and he's definitely not the leader. They're opponents. And when you're fighting each other instead of the problem, nobody wins. Sound familiar? Well, don't worry. You are obviously not alone. And most couples, they stay stuck right there, blaming each other until there's nothing left worth saving. But the two in this story, they found a way out. And I'm about to show you exactly how. So one day, boom, her car breaks down. $1,200 for repairs, and they only got $500 in savings. He gets frustrated, feeling like he's failing as a provider. She's panicking because this just confirms her biggest fear, that they're not prepared. In the blame game, oh, it's on. He again wants to pull out his credit card for the expense, and she's like, didn't I tell you that we needed a rainy day fund? And at this point, he's hearing the criticism and she's hearing the excuses. And nobody's hearing solutions. And he's thinking at this point, how am I supposed to fix this? While she's thinking, I told him that this would happen. And before you know it, it comes to a head because they're yelling over each other, not hearing a word being said. And now he's like, what you want me to do? Pull the money out of thin air? And she's firing back like, no, I just want you to listen for once, instead of pretending that everything is okay. And it's not even about the money anymore. This is about respect, trust, and feeling like they're on the same team, one of which he's leading. But right now, they ain't teammates, they're opponents. And the craziest part about this entire situation, they're both right, somewhat. But being right doesn't pay the bills. So what happens next? So here's where the game changes. Rock bottom. No more pretending, no more guessing, and no more pointing fingers. They're both broke, tired, barely speaking, but neither of them wants to give up. So they sit down, pen, paper, and receipts everywhere. And they finally start talking. And trust me, it ain't easy for them. She's mad about his overtime hours, as what they always are. They want you to make good money, but spend as much time as possible with them, while he's mad about her extra Amazon orders. But then something shifts. She looks at him and says, I don't want to lose us over this. And for the first time in weeks, he believes her. They then begin the painstaking process of writing down every dollar amount coming in and every dollar amount going out. They stop asking, whose fault is this? And they start asking, what can we do about this together? So here's the rules that they set. No more impulse buys under no circumstances. No big purchases without talking first. And no more pretending like everything's fine. But yeah, it took a lot. They fought, they slipped up, but they kept coming back to the table because this time quitting was not an option. And guess what? Because they went through that, little by little, the numbers, they began to make sense. And so did this factor in their relationship. So after the arguments, the stress, and the breakdown, they finally did the one thing that most couples avoid. They got organized. And let me tell you, it wasn't some overnight miracle. In order to do that, you must be disciplined. The first move, if you find yourself in this situation, is to build an emergency fund. Ideally, you want to have at least 6 months of expenses saved in that fund. But if you flat broke right now, at least try to save $10 a week. That's it. No crazy, unrealistic goals, just consistent deposits until it starts to add up. Secondly, after you build up that emergency fund, you can then budget for an entertainment fund or a fun fund, so to speak. $50 a month, dinners, movies, what have you. You've built up 6 months of living expenses in your emergency fund, so it's okay to treat you as well as your lady within a relationship with a budget that makes sense. Nobody wants to feel like their entire life is one long struggle. You got to keep some joy in the budget or you'll snap. But the real key in all of this, they split finances without splitting up. He has an account, she has an account, and one joint account for bills as well as savings. That way, they can keep some independence without all the drama. Building a framework like this stops the idea of who spent what and starts the idea of how do we build together. And that right there is a game changer. And the first time in months after talking about their finances and setting a plan into motion, they felt in control, not just for money, but also control of their future. They realized that it's not just about the money. It was about learning how to work together with a plan. And that plan changed everything. And once they set their plan into motion, they started setting even bigger goals, bigger vacations, bigger investments, maybe even a business one day. Now, I want all my fellas to listen to this. Being the man in the relationship doesn't mean that you're controlling every aspect of money. It means that you lead with accountability. Those two things are not the same thing. Leadership has never been about calling all of the shots. Real leaders, they set plans into motion, clear plans that teammates can follow while providing the correct decision rights within the structure that the leader has created. You can't tell your girl to trust me if you yourself as a man moving reckless within the budget, especially if it's the budget that you created. Trust is built in the little things, like showing the plan and then sticking to it by any means necessary. Now, there's some people that think that creating a budget is limiting, and I completely disagree with this, because if anything, creating a budget makes you more free, because now you have a system that determines what you can spend and what you cannot. And it is freeing not having to check your account every 5 minutes to determine you can pay for something, or wondering if there's enough in there. In this couple's case, figuring out how to work together as a couple doesn't make the man weak, because it made the relationship stronger. Gentlemen, again, listen to me. Lead with clarity instead of control. Control will stress you the hell out, and you'll find yourself doing most of the work, putting the burden on your back to solve everything. That's not leadership. You're a strong individual contributor. But being a good leader, that's when respect will naturally come. And respect is what's necessary to keep the relationship solid. Now I want to hear from y'all. What's the wildest fight that you've ever had about money? Drop it in the comments down below and let's talk about it. And while you're at it, let me know what's one thing that you and your lady have done to get on the same page financially. And last but certainly not least, join my men's self-development community at school.com/MTArmy. These are the type of discussions that we have. These are the type of lessons that we teach our men. There's so much education up there from a financial perspective that will aid you in your life going forward. The content that I drop up here is just the tip of the iceberg. Come and tap in. But all right, I'm out of here. I'll catch you guys on the next one. And trust me, you're not going to want to miss it, because next time we're going to be talking about the sneaky habits that quietly drain your bank account and how to stop them. Take care, y'all.